Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome along to those people in the hall, but also a big welcome to the people on the internet. Tonight we have a special guest along to give the talk tonight. His name is Mr. Chris Perrier. Chris has been a long-standing member of the Buddhist Society and has really had quite a checkered life. He started, I know, well before I knew him. He was a yogi at one point with in the Hindu tradition, and he's worked his way through from being, I think, a geologist, right the way through now to him being a clinical psychologist and a very, very welcome member of the Buddhist Society who's helped around here over many, many years. So Chris will introduce his talk tonight, and I know that it'll be very interesting for you. So without further ado, I welcome and invite Chris to give his talk and a meditation for us tonight.
Thanks, Dennis.
And perhaps just before I go, I'll just let you know too that the care line is now open. The phone lines are there, and if you have a look on your screen, you can see the telephone numbers there. And also you're able to see that we do have a free call, so you can ring on WhatsApp. There's a WhatsApp phone there too. So the listeners are in place in the care house, ready to take your call. So without further ado now, I call on Chris to give his talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. So it's good to be back physically in the Buddhist Centre. It's been a while since I've been here. Usually watch on the internet, so that's good. Okay, so this evening, the title of the talk this evening, or the session this evening, is Taking Better Care of Yourself, which alludes to self-compassion. And so I thought I'd just actually start off with a few questions for you people. We can do something that's very centering tonight and very calming tonight, or we can do something which is stretching your brain and stretching your limits around this sort of thing. So do you want a cruisy session, or do you want to be stretched and maybe go to some places that you haven't been to before? Any cruise? Hands up for cruise. Hands up for stretch. Okay, stretch it is. Okay, stretch it is. So I wanted to talk a little bit about compassion and self-compassion. And if you look on the internet today, you'll see a lot of information about taking care of yourself and self-compassion. And a lot of it, and I certainly subscribed to this view in the past, that being kind to yourself it's really very important. But oftentimes we come from situations where one part of us believes that we should be kind to ourselves and take good care of ourselves, but then we have an internal or a civil war going on with our inner critic, which launches counterattacks on us and tells us things like we're not worthy to be bothered to take care of ourselves. What I found most pervasive in my professional work as a psychologist is the immense amount of self-abandonment where, I know I should do this for myself, and I should take care of myself, and I should exercise, and I should do this, and eat the right vegetables. It can be caused by a number of things. It can be caused by lack of energy, which can be caused by a lot of things, but it also can be caused by actually adopting an attitude to ourselves of I couldn't be bothered, that has been suggested to us by difficult situations in our life in our past. Psychologists have a bad rap for, ploughing in the past and digging up problems and all of that sort of stuff. I don't think it's very fruitful to go back and do all that sort of stuff. Only to the extent I think it's fruitful is where the past haunts the present. And so what are those things which cause us to be unkind to ourselves? And you may experience that in terms of certain triggers in interpersonal situations. Maybe a person's tone of voice, a certain look. It could be things that you say to yourself or memories that are triggered from the past. So what we know is that the first woundings of the heart occur in relationship. Usually to a relationship from, people that maybe either wouldn't or couldn't take care of us properly. Wounds which occur in the heart from these situations can only be healed from extending and feeling the love from someone else's heart. In other words, for us to be kind to ourselves, we first of all need to be kind. We first of all need to be able to receive kindness from others. Okay? So often, especially if we've been hurt or had painful experiences in the past, especially in interpersonal situations, there's a general sense that the world's a dangerous place. Don't trust people out there. I'll just run my own show. Thank you very much, and I'll be completely independent, and I'll minimise my needs right down to a very, very low level, and I'll just make my way through life like that. And that's like the horse, the guy that trained the donkey to walk through the desert without ever drinking any water, and he almost succeeded, and at the last minute the donkey dropped dead from thirst. And so we really can't, that approach doesn't really work. We really need to, if we have not had these experiences in our past, if we do find that we have a little civil war going on in ourselves when we try to look after ourselves better, take care of ourselves, be kind to ourselves, then it's fairly important that we begin to harness whatever resources are out there in society. Our first experience of compassion is being taken care of, hopefully in the arms of our parents. And we really need to feel what that feels like, to be really dependent and very vulnerable, and know that it is safe, and that our mother won't drop us or leave us at the supermarket if we're a baby. And so how can we, if we've got a deficit in these experiences, how can we actually do something about that now when we're an adult? And so there are a couple of different ways that we can begin to harness these sorts of experiences out in the world. So often when we have these sorts of background environments where we have had emotional deprivation issues and these very harsh inner critic situations, we seek to find one relationship which will fix it all. And usually that's a primary relationship. And when that's going well, I don't have any problems, I don't have to worry about all this business. But when that doesn't go well, or we go on the rocks and have a separation or something like that, then there's a strong amount of instability. Now, what I want to say to you is that it's possible to actually maybe begin to garnish some sense of connectedness in lots of different ways in our lives. There's some really interesting research over the last 5-10 years that's shown that one of the major markers for longevity in life, leading a long life and a long and a healthy life, is the strength of our, not necessarily intimate relationships, although that's very, very important, but the strength of our weak bonds. Our weak bonds. Do we say hello to the person that makes our cup of coffee and ask them how they are when we go for our coffee break down at morning tea at work? Do we know the person that delivers the paper, or do we know the person that we buy our milk from down at the supermarket? Or someone that we bump into at at a sporting event or something like that. It's not like we are actually having deep and meaningful experiences, but we get a sense of a friendly smile a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit all over the place. And it starts to form a sense that we are held in community. And that, multiplied over years and years and years, reduces what we call allostatic load, like the rucksack of rocks that we hold in our backpack that we carry through life. We all have got a backpack with weights of one form or another. And when we have this sense of connection and this sense of felt support in little ways like this, that rucksack gets a little bit lighter and there's a little less wear and tear on our system. And so our sense of feeling connected in these ways, in these very superficial ways, really over a long term has a very profound effect on our health. So do say hello to the person that makes your coffee in the morning, down at the barista. And try to smile at the person at Woolworths and Coles and ask them how your day's been. Because it's a two-way street. You might be smiling at them and making their day, but they may just in turn respond in kind and make your day in a little way. And so let's just start off with ways that we can begin to develop a sensitivity to receiving the good vibes, receiving the sense of being cared about. Because without that, it's very difficult to go forward. So I just want you to close your eyes and I want you to actually just imagine a couple of different situations. The first situation is, think of a social situation or a family situation where you've been doing stuff with someone, some people, maybe a sporting group, maybe sitting down having a cup of coffee at work with friends or something like that, or even family members. But someone says something and they make an observation about you and they really hit the mark. They see you. They get it. They understand. They see beyond the superficial down to a deeper level of who you are. Okay? See if you can bring up a situation like that in the best way you can. In that situation, see the picture that's going on right now. See the video. Do a body scan. What's it feel like to be seen in that pleasant, safe way? What does that feel like? What's happening in your chest? What's happening in your neck? What's happening in your throat? What's happening in your buttocks? What does that feel like? And how do you think about yourself in that situation? What words go along with that video? What words go along with that feeling in the body? Like, I can let my guard down. Or, he gets me. He's one of my tribe. He or she gets me. They understand. Or whatever it might be. Or I'm safe. Okay. Hold those pictures. Say those words to yourself. Run the video through. Feel the feelings in your body where you're feeling that sense of connectedness. Hold all of those at the same time and then very gently put your hands on your lap and tap. Tap, starting now. Backwards and forwards, left and right side, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Keep going. Right, left, right. Holding those images, holding those words, noticing the feelings in your body. Stop. Stop tapping. Just do a scan. Emotionally and physically, how's your body feel? How is your mind in terms of scatteredness versus peacefulness? How's your emotions? Stillness versus scatteredness. Once again, bring up the video, run the words about yourself. I'm safe, or I'm amongst friends, or whatever it might be. Drop down into the body. See if you can re-establish that feeling of being seen. When you've got all of those, start your tapping. Stop your tapping. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Just do a check. How still is your mind? How peaceful is your mind? How safe do you feel? How connected do you feel to your own body? Feel what that feels like. If there's another voice in you that's poo-hooing all this, equanimize that voice in the background, coming into the present moment right now, knowing that this is absolutely okay to do this, and giving yourself permission to do this. And enjoying any sense of stillness and increased well-being or safety that you might feel right now from dwelling on this positive experience. Notice where that lands in your body. What does that good feeling feel like in your body? Maybe there's some words that go with it. Now, once again, a third time, bring up the image of being seen. Run the video through. Run the words through to yourself. Hold the feeling of well-being in your body that results from being seen, and start your tapping. Okay, stop the tapping. Scan the body. Be aware of any images that come up for you. Be aware of any feelings in the body. Be aware of the emotions. Take a mental picture of what this feels like. And make an adhitthana, a resolution that the Buddha talked about. An adhitthana. The first thing that you remember when you wake up tomorrow morning will be this feeling. This good feeling and this memory. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and relax your positions. And look up towards me. So I noticed some of you weren't tapping, and that's okay. Tapping only is a form of stimulation of the left and right side of the brain. It comes from the tradition of EMDR with this sort of stuff. If you know what I'm talking about, don't worry if you don't. But basically, when you're stimulating the left and right side of the body, it stimulates the left and right side of the brain, which causes information processing. Bit of science for you there. That's why in most of the mystical traditions, you have contemplatives who hold ideas similarly pictures, words, sensations, videos, and they pace backwards and forwards. Okay? If you have a look at the Spanish cloisters, the monasteries in Spain and Italy, they always have these places where the monks can walk. The Sufis do the same. The Buddhists, have this tradition as well. So this idea of marrying movement in the body with emotions and ideas in the mind makes it stick. The idea of just holding the idea in your mind is kind of like a top-down thing, and that works. But when you marry it with the bottom-up stuff, like the Aborigines, they will dance their experiences a lot of the time to get them grounded. So, how did that go for you? How was it? Did anyone have any increase or any change in their level of well-being? Who found it just didn't affect them at all? Huh? Okay. Who found they were more relaxed? Yeah? Okay. What about joy? Safety? Increase in safety? Yeah, okay, that's the one. There are 5 categories that we can use this for. We can harvest these experiences. When we are seen, when we are included. Hey, Bill, come on over, join the group, blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing. Remember what that feels like to, hey, come on, come join us. That one. Huh? When we're accepted, you're explaining your point of view and someone gives you a message that they really appreciate and accept what you've had to say. This stuff is subtle, but don't be fooled. Subtle is significant. It requires, that's why I said, do you want to cruise today or do you want to do some work? This stuff is subtle, but it is very significant. And if you do it again and again and again, seen, included, accepted, liked, getting non-verbal messages from a group around you that, these people like me. And of course, loved, feeling loved. So do we have, you can use this approach for instilling this experience of being held. And that harks back to what I said. If you notice that you have predispositions to have mood swings, little civil wars with yourself every once in a while with the inner critic, or a pervasive sense of helplessness and hopelessness, these techniques are very, very powerful in terms of learning how to institute and program a positive mental template. Many people who come and see me professionally, they come and they walk through the door and they tell me their problems. This has been happening for 35, 40 years. They tell me their problems and they're eloquent in the way they can describe how awful their life is. Eloquent. But when I ask them, well, what would a positive alternative to that look like? Oh, I never thought of that. And we can get in a mindset, It's not like people are stupid. It's not like they're stupid so they can't think of that. There's a groove in the mind for negativity, and we are like Velcro for negativity. This is a Ricanson saying we are like Velcro for negativity. We are much more sensitive to picking up the negative, and there's much more real estate in the brain for picking up the negative. And we're Teflon for the positive. It just slips off us. So that's why we have to do these sorts of things to change the balance. And the Buddha said the same thing again, 2,600 years ago. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Okay? You want to have positive states? It's not enough to just hope that they'll come along. No. And don't ever think that the sayings that you say when you do the Brahma Viharas, may I be safe, may I be well, may I be at peace. And then we begin to say those to other people. And it sounds phony because the guy's a real jerk. The guy's a real jerk, you know. Everybody knows he's a jerk. Okay? And, you know, these techniques that the Buddha introduced, of the Brahma Viharas in particular, they're there to help us make our way skillfully through the world. Because the world is full of all sorts of nice people and not so nice people. And when we say those things, our mind comes up with the thing, no, that guy's a jerk. And then we're invited to actually maybe deepen our perspective of that person's malevolence or something like that, and begin to maybe see the person's difficulties in a bigger picture. So when you say these things to yourself and when you begin to practice holding these patterns of ease, it really does create templates where the next time you see the person, they're going to be a little, they may still be a jerk, but they'll bug you less. They'll bug you less. Why do they bug you less? They bug you less because you've got something inside. You've got something inside. You've got a sense of positivity inside and an understanding that this person is the way they are because of a whole lot of circumstances and a deeper appreciation of the law of karma. Therefore, and Ajahn Brahm uses this analogy all the time. A person, you know, the person that went to the, went down to the market and he was abused by someone and the person got very, very affronted and walked away and was very distressed. But then when he realised later on, when he was told that that person was crazy and had, you know, all sorts of mental difficulties, the person goes down the next day, gets abused in the same way by the person, and it's okay because you know there's a bigger picture associated with that. That bigger picture has to be held in our body as well as our minds. Okay, it has to be held in our body, in holding that sense of well-being in our body, in holding that sense of positivity, in holding the sense of safety. The safety that comes, for example, even from holding and knowing that we can depend on ourselves to keep our precepts. Okay, that gives us a sense of safety. It gives us a sense of freedom from remorse, which causes us to be much less able to be triggered by other people and by jerks and, bullies and all of that sort of stuff in the world. Okay, so that's our little exercise that's a technique. It'll work in any positive emotion that you want to instill in your nervous system. There's a great deal more that you can do, but that's enough for tonight. So let's start our meditation practice with the other half of our session today. And this meditation is entitled 5 Ways of Steadying the Mind. Okay. So just make yourself in a comfortable position. And you can have your eyes open or closed or halfway. In this place, in this tradition, everybody closes their eyes. If you've got a very racing mind, you can have your eyes open or half open. You can play around with that. There's a whole range of things that you can do with your eyes which can really help still the mind. So the first of these 5 ways is to relax, strange as it may seem, coming into now, coming home, coming home to now. I have arrived, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say. I have arrived in my own body. And this is a great opportunity to extend a a sense of friendship from the bottom up to this first level of steadying the mind by relaxing the body. And we can relax the body particularly by evoking the vagal response, or the vagal response to, or the ventral response to the vagus nerve. So if we actually smile, and if we relax our throat, if we stretch up and settle in so that we're not slumping forward, it mitigates against sleepiness. We can begin to take our breath all the way down into our belly. And spend a few moments now to have that smile on the face, but to also have an inner smile that looks down, smiling at the body. Hey, I'm on your side. Smiling at the body. Smiling around the eyes. The vagus nerve has all sorts of endings around the eyes, the jaw, relaxing the jaw, the eye sockets. Coming down to the throat. Down into the heart centre. And even further down into the belly. Begin to marry the exhalation with a sense of ease and letting go. Because there's nothing to do and no place to go. Right now is all there is. And we can give ourselves over to just being here in our bodies in a friendly way now. Bringing in that sense of gentleness and softness, especially on the exhalation. And bringing a sense of softness and gentleness to the end of the inhalation as well. Because we can oftentimes have powerful emotions at the end of the inhalation and at the end of the exhalation. And we need to very gently touch base with this part of the breathing. Like we're dipping the toe in the water. This is oftentimes where emotions are frozen at the end of the inhalation and the end of the exhalation. But spreading your attention out throughout your whole body while being aware of the inhalation and exhalation, which are spontaneous. Sometimes, as the Buddha said, you breathe in short, sometimes you breathe in long. Sometimes you breathe out short, sometimes you breathe out long. None is better than the other. Let the body begin to guide you, and you in turn begin to trust the feeling of your own embodiment now, being here in your body. So that if thinking comes up, you can equanimize the thinking and come back to the body. Now maintaining that physical relaxation in the body, that friendliness in the body. Bring to mind a sense of friendliness in your interpersonal relationships, people that you care about or people that care about you. And bring up a sense of friendliness. I do have friends. You do love me. I am accepted. Whatever it is for you. The main thing here is to feel the feeling of connection rather than go off into a story about the people or the situation. We're only using these situations to trigger the feeling of connection. Wishing well to others, and others wishing well to us. Friendliness. Going out and going in. The feeling of friendliness. The second way to steady the mind. Work with the breath to let it sink into your bones. See if you can anchor the feeling of friendliness in your body. And keeping that sense of friendliness in the body. We move to the third way, which is to notice that you're safe right now. May not have been safe in the past, may not be safe in the future, but right now, you are safe. Nothing bad is happening. Paying attention to the experience of all rightness right now is a major, major resource in the midst of anxiety, which is usually about the future. To notice that nothing bad is happening right now. The absence of chaos. The freedom from being attacked. Giving yourself a permission to just dial down a notch or two with your drivenness or your guardedness that may be part of your coping mechanisms in life. I don't need those right now. We can dial it down a little bit. We can allow a little bit of vulnerability in because now is safe. We can allow ourselves to be with ourselves and to feel whatever we need to feel because we are safe. We don't have to control as much and we don't have to control our mind and our emotions as much because we are safe right now. And work the safety with the breath. Blend the two of them to feel that safety. And holding that safety with the friendliness in the body. We move further on to embrace a sense of enoughness. Right now, contentment. This is good enough. The fourth way. Maybe I could have more, but this is good enough. The feeling of contentment. This is enough. Feel that as you breathe in with the air, that this is enough. And with each taking in of the air, feeling yourself becoming more and more enriched with enoughness. And letting go. Feeling a sense of confidence to let go emotionally as well, because this is enough. in this sense of building contentment with the breath and with our body in the present moment, wears away the poverty consciousness. It's the antidote to the poverty consciousness. And it sets the stage for generosity. And the fifth way to steady the mind is what the Buddha talked about when he said making a resolution, an adhitthana. May my mind gravitate towards stillness and one-pointedness. And that's the top-down approach. But to remember what stillness feels like in your bones is the bottom-up approach. May I give myself over to the feeling of stillness, the remembered feeling of stillness. May my mind dwell in stillness. May I surrender to the memory of stillness. Adhitthana, the fifth way to steady the mind. And we can do this by focusing the attention on whatever the object is, let's say the breath, on the in-breath, paying attention all the way through to the exhalation, the gap between the exhalation and the inhalation, and then the inhale. Bringing that sense of compassion when our mind drifts off and surrendering ourselves to that sense of peace. This is the top priority. Economize everything else. May my mind dwell in stillness and peace. And remember what that feels like from the last time. Bring it up and re-experience it again. The Buddha described a mind which has these qualities, is unshaken, unstained, sorrowless, and secure. Unshaken, unstained, sorrowless, and secure. Feel the meaning of these words in your bones. Unshaken, unstained, sorrowless, and secure. This is the mind that the Buddha advised to take refuge in. The mind that we can aim towards. By making much of these feelings when they arise within us. Okay, folks, that's it. Do you normally have questions for these things, or do we pack up and go home, or what's the normal format?
We've just invited everybody to stay for a cup of tea. We've gone to a spread already over in the room in the kitchen.
Okay. All right. Good. So we're going to meet over there and have a cup of tea. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can all do that.